The cold December air wrapped around Detective Sarah Reeves like a shroud as she approached the cordoned-off suburban home on Oak Hill Drive. Yellow police tape fluttered in the winter wind, a stark contrast against the peaceful neighborhood backdrop. Christmas decorations still adorned nearby houses, their cheerful glow creating an unsettling juxtaposition with the tragedy that had unfolded inside the Harrison family home. "What do we have?" Sarah asked, flashing her badge to the officer guarding the perimeter. Officer Martinez's face was pale. "It's bad, Detective. The whole family. Robert Harrison, 44, his wife Ellen, 41, and their kids, Lily, 8, and Tommy, 6. Sarah felt her stomach tighten. Families were the worst. Time of death. Me estimates between 10 p.m. and midnight on December 30th. Sarah ducked under the tape and made her way toward the two-story colonial house. This neighborhood had once been prestigious, but plans for commercial redevelopment had left many homes vacant, their owners having sold to developers and moved on. The Harrison house stood as one of the few still occupied on the block. Inside, the scene was methodically busy, crime scene technicians photographing evidence, collecting samples, dusting for prints. Sarah was immediately struck by the lack of forced entry on the ground floor. Detective Mark Holloway, her partner of 3 years, met her in the foyer. His eyes were hollow. "I've seen a lot in 20 years on the force, but this..." He shook his head. "Walk me through it," Sarah said, pulling on latex gloves. "Robert Harrison was found in his study," Mark said, leading her through the living room. "Multiple stab wounds. Defensive wounds on his hands," he fought back. The study was a chaos of overturned furniture and blood spatter. Robert Harrison lay face up near his desk, his white button-down shirt saturated crimson. Sarah noted the defensive wounds, deep cuts across his palms where he tried to grab the blade. "The wife and daughter were found upstairs," Mark continued as they climbed the stairs. "Similar wound patterns. The boy." His voice caught slightly, "The boy was strangled in his bed. Appears he never woke up." Sarah steeled herself as they entered the children's bedrooms. The little boy lay under dinosaur-patterned sheets, looking almost peaceful if not for the bruising around his neck. She felt the familiar burn of anger mixing with sadness, a cocktail of emotions she'd learned to channel into determination. "What's odd," Mark said, leading her back downstairs, "is what happened after. The killer stayed. 4 hours. Stayed." Sarah's attention sharpened. "Used the computer, ate food from the fridge. CSI found a half-eaten sandwich, ice cream bowl in the sink. The guy made himself at home." Sarah's mind raced with implications. That's not a typical home invasion. Not a robbery gone wrong either. Nothing substantial appears missing. Electronics, jewelry, all still here. "So we're looking at something personal," Sarah mused. "Or someone deeply disturbed." "There's more," Mark said, gesturing to an evidence technician who approached with sealed bags. The perp left things behind. A black backpack, some clothing items that don't match the family's sizes. Even used their bathroom. Sarah examined the evidence bags. A dark sweatshirt with an unfamiliar logo. A pair of gloves. A black backpack with a distinctive red stripe. "Have these been processed?" "Rush on DNA and prints," Mark confirmed. "Though if this guy isn't in the system." Sarah nodded grimly. Entry point. Second floor bathroom window. Small opening, but not impossible for someone agile. The window was left unlocked. Outside, Sarah surveyed the exterior of the house. The bathroom window was indeed small, but someone determined could make it through. A nearby tree provided partial cover from street view. Perfect for someone who'd been watching the house, learning the family's patterns. Back at the station, Sarah pinned photos to the investigation board. The Harrison family smiled back from vacation pictures, a handsome couple with their 2 beautiful children. Robert had been a financial analyst, Ellen a pediatric nurse. By all accounts, a happy, normal family. Background checks came up clean, Mark said, handing her a coffee. No known enemies, no financial troubles, no suspicious activities. Sarah sipped the bitter station coffee. What about the neighborhood? Any reports of prowlers, break-ins? Nothing reported, but most houses are empty. Perfect area for someone to watch without being noticed. 3 days into the investigation, the forensic results arrived. The DNA and fingerprints from the items left behind were high-quality samples, yet they matched nothing in any database. Our guy's a ghost, Mark said, frustration evident. All this evidence and we can't put a name to him. Sarah studied the crime scene photos for the 100th time. He knew the layout of the house. The timing. He came prepared but wasn't in a hurry to leave. Almost like he wanted to experience being part of the family, Mark suggested. There's something intimate about all this. Pull the security camera footage from the surrounding area again, Sarah instructed. Someone had to see something. Later that night, Sarah couldn't sleep. The Harrison case haunted her, the senselessness of it, the brutality contrasted with the killer's casual behavior afterward. She got up and spread the case files across her kitchen table. A neighbor's statement caught her attention. The development company has been pressuring us all to sell. The Harrisons were holding out, along with a few others. The next morning, Sarah drove to Westridge Development Corporation's downtown office. The receptionist directed her to Nathan Powell, the project manager for the Oak Hill redevelopment. Powell was polished and professional, his corner office showcasing architectural models of future commercial spaces. The Harrison situation is tragic, he said, maintaining steady eye contact. Our entire team is shocked. I understand they were holding out on selling, Sarah probed. Like a few others, yes. But we operate through legal channels, detective. Offers, counteroffers. That's business. And when business doesn't go your way? Powell's smile tightened. We adjust our strategy. Legally. Where were you on the night of December 30th? At home with my wife and in-laws. They stayed with us through New Year's. 4 people can verify my whereabouts. Sarah left unsatisfied but with a new angle to pursue. The development company had much to gain from the Harrisons' property. Back at the station, a new complication emerged. We found prints on the computer, a technician reported. The killer was searching properties in the area. Real estate listings. He was looking for his next target, Mark suggested. Or, Sarah countered, he was gathering information about the development. They expanded their investigation, interviewing other holdout homeowners. Most expressed fear but no specific threats. The Shelton family 3 blocks over mentioned a suspicious car parked on their street multiple nights, a dark sedan with tinted windows. A week into the investigation, Sarah received a call from Cynthia Rodriguez, Ellen Harrison's sister. There's something you should know, Cynthia said, her voice tight with emotion. Robert had been receiving anonymous emails. Threatening ones. Ellen mentioned it about a month ago. Why wasn't this in our initial interview? I forgot. We were all so shocked. It just came back to me when I was going through Ellen's things. Sarah arranged to meet Cynthia that afternoon. The emails had been vague but menacing, some opportunities only come once. Reconsider your position. And later, your family deserves a secure future. Don't let pride cost you everything. Did they report these? Robert dismissed them as pressure tactics from the developers. He was stubborn, believed in standing his ground. With a court order, Sarah gained access to Robert Harrison's email accounts. The threatening messages had come from anonymous accounts, routed through VPNs that made them difficult to trace. Meanwhile, forensics had more on the items left behind at the scene. The backpack contained traces of soil not native to the area. The clothing fabric suggested overseas manufacturing, possibly Eastern European. 2 weeks in, they caught their first potential break. A security camera from a gas station 3 blocks from the Harrison home had captured a figure in dark clothing walking purposefully at 9:15 p.m. on December 30th. The image was grainy, but the build matched what they'd pieced together from evidence: medium height, athletic build. "We need to canvass again," Sarah instructed. "Someone must have seen this person." Their second round of interviews yielded a new witness, a teenage boy who had been walking his dog late that night. "I saw someone climbing that big oak tree next to the Harrison house. Thought it was weird, but figured it might be their kid or something." "What time was this?" "Around 9:30. I was supposed to be home by 10, and I was running late." "Can you describe this person?" "Dark clothes, athletic. Moved like they knew what they were doing. I only saw them from behind." Sarah felt they were getting closer, yet still frustratingly far from identifying their killer. The evidence pointed to someone methodical, patient, and possibly connected to the development project, yet the DNA and fingerprints remained unmatched in any database. 1 month after the murders, Sarah received an anonymous tip. "Check the other development projects by Westridge." Same pattern. She spent days digging through records of Westridge's previous developments. In 2 other cities, families who had initially held out had suffered break-ins or vandalism. No murders, but the pattern of intimidation was clear. "We need to look at their contractors, security firms, anyone they hire for problem-solving," Sarah told Mark. Their investigation led them to Black River Security, a firm contracted by Westridge for site security at their developments. Its founder, James Mercer, had military background but no criminal record. His employees, however, were harder to trace. Sarah arranged surveillance on Black River's offices. 2 days in, they identified an employee whose build matched their suspect, Eric Kovac, 35, an immigrant with specialized military training who had only been in the country for 3 years. No criminal record, which explained the lack of DNA and fingerprint matches. When they brought Kovac in for questioning, he was calm, almost detached. His alibi checked out: he'd been at a company party the night of the murders, verified by multiple colleagues. "Another dead end," Mark said after Kovac was released. Sarah wasn't convinced. "His alibi's too neat. And did you notice his boots? Same tread pattern as partial prints from the scene." They put Kovac under surveillance but found nothing suspicious. Meanwhile, the case was growing cold. Public interest waned. Other cases demanded attention. 2 months after the murders, Sarah was reviewing the Harrison computer files again when something caught her eye. In the browser history from the night of the murders, the killer had visited a website for international money transfers. He wasn't just looking at real estate, Sarah realized. He was checking something about a payment. They subpoenaed records from the transfer company and discovered a series of payments from an offshore account to one registered to Eric Kovac. The last transfer had been December 29th, 1 day before the murders. But when they moved to arrest Kovac, he had vanished. His apartment was cleared out, his phone disconnected. He had slipped away, leaving behind a perfect, chilling crime scene but taking with him the absolute proof they needed for conviction. 6 months later, Sarah still kept the Harrison file on her desk. The case remained open but inactive. Westridge had eventually acquired the Harrison property when it went to auction. The other holdout families had sold quickly after the murders. Occasionally, reports would come in of similar family murders in other states, with the killer staying in the home afterward. Sarah would send inquiries, hoping for a DNA match, a fingerprint comparison. Nothing ever came back conclusive. Sometimes, late at night, she would revisit the evidence. The backpack with the distinctive red stripe. The foreign-made clothing. The strange intimacy of a killer who would murder a family and then eat their food, use their computer, make himself at home among the dead. The Harrison case taught Sarah something she'd never forget: that sometimes the most disturbing crimes aren't committed in passion or frenzy, but with cold, professional precision, and that such calculated malice could walk away, blend back into the world, and perhaps still be out there, waiting for the next contract, the next family, the next house at the end of a quiet street. And somewhere, perhaps, a developer was planning another project, eyeing another neighborhood, considering the most efficient way to clear obstacles from their path. And perhaps they had a special phone number, one that wasn't in their official contacts, for problems that required permanent solutions.